This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Denver, Colorado. We're at Juno Financial, brand new for 2013. They are now dedicated to helping small businesses reach their goals through financing needs. I'm here with the owner, CEO, and founder. Dennis, thank you for joining us. First of all, why don't we share with the viewers out there what got you involved in this industry? Obviously, you have 20 years of experience that you bring to the service.
I spent most of my career in accounting and finance and began my career in public accounting and worked with a lot of small businesses. And through those experiences, realized that small businesses have a hard time obtaining the financing that they need to grow. So a few years back, with the economy going in the tank, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to branch out and see if I can help small businesses obtain the financing that they need.
Obviously, the company exists for you to protect the finances of your clients. That really ties in well with the name. Why don't you share with us how that came about?
Sure. Actually, it was my wife who came up with the name. We were kicking around some ideas, and she came up with Juno, which is the Roman goddess, protector of wealth for the Roman people. And it kind of fit in with my beliefs and trying to help folks, not just trying to make a buck off them.
Not only is the company there to protect their finances, their resources, their receivables, quite honestly, you're there to attain financing for them. Why is that process more overwhelming, time-consuming today possibly than ever before?
Yeah, it's difficult for small businesses, primarily to get financing from a bank. They don't necessarily have the history. They haven't been in business that long. They could have had some recent issues with their own personal finances, which prevents them from getting bank financing. Because of that, there are companies like Juno that step in and help these small businesses get the working capital that they need to grow their business.
Speaking of working capital, we're not talking about the traditional go to the bank, fill out tons of paperwork, and then find out it's not an option. We're talking about a factoring program that you've got with invoice factoring. Explain that to me.
Sure. The primary difference between what I do, invoice factoring, and a bank loan, the bank is going to take your receivables or your invoices and use that as collateral for that loan. With invoice factoring or receivables factoring, I'm actually going to buy your invoices from you at a discount.
Are we talking about, do we invoice our clients as normal, then basically hand over those invoices to you, and then at that point you decide there's a percentage you're going to pay back to me, and so no longer do I have an invoice in hand, I actually have cash in hand?
That's right. And so what typically happens is the customer, my client, decides which invoices they want to put into the factoring program. They're not required to put all invoices in. It's based on their cash flow needs for that week or that month. So they submit the invoices to me, and the typical advance rate is 80%. So you'll get 80% up front when you sell the invoice to me. And once your customer pays it, I refund the difference between 100% and 80% less my fee.
Do you decide based on a customization of each industry, and are there other factors involved?
Yeah, there are quite a few factors that determine the fee that I charge. One is industry. So there are certain industries that are better than others. For instance, staffing companies traditionally get better rates, better advance rates, better factoring fees than some others. Also, the volume. If you're a very small company, that's going to impact the fee that gets charged. Also, the creditworthiness of your customers. If they're very creditworthy, if you've got General Electric or Walmart, that's much more safe than if you've got, the mom and pop down the street.
A same-day factoring quote must be a real breath of fresh air for folks to get out there compared to going months on end waiting for an answer from a bank. It probably doesn't get much faster than that.
That's right. And what I try and do is get a little bit of information, have a conversation with the business owner. It could be half an hour, it could be an hour, depending on the complexity of their business. And then I'm able, from the information they provide, determine what my fee will be, unless there's something that comes up in the due diligence process. So I'll give them that verbal quote up front, and then if everything looks good when I do the due diligence, that's what they get.
As a business owner, I see this as a great way to leverage my receivables in a way that I possibly couldn't do before. Not only that, I'm now able to grow my company possibly a little faster than I would by attaining some new customers or even extending credit to ones that I normally couldn't otherwise.
That's exactly right. The biggest issue that small businesses have is having the cash to finance their business, to finance that growth. So what invoice factoring can do is leverage what they've already done. They've already billed their customers, and take that cash, that working capital, and go out and Maybe they have to buy a piece of machinery to increase their volume. Maybe they need to hire a salesperson or come up with some marketing materials. Whatever the case may be, they can use that cash to increase their volume, their sales.
And if they do need to approach the bank later on, maybe to duplicate their process, it really gives them a better credit profile because of the fact they've now been able to pay their vendors on time as well.
That's right. It helps them with paying their vendors, make sure that they're paying their employees, which is extremely important. And what I try and do is, when they get to the point where they're becoming more healthy and they can start weaning off of factoring, I'll introduce them to bankers, small business bankers that I know, to help get them in the door, develop that relationship as quickly as possible.
It sounds like basically the business is still in control here. Am I able to monitor my customers' payment history? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. I use an online system for all my clients, and they have 24/7 access to that. And there's a lot of reporting that's available to them. One of the things that's very helpful is that how long does it take for my customers to pay? Most small businesses, they've got an idea, they've got, I think I know, but when they really start looking at it, they don't have an idea. And it helps them manage their business. It also helps them with their collection process, helps them maintain, that discipline that they need to get those collections in quicker, which in turn reduces their fees to me.
Wonderful. So you're not relying anymore on everything you have in here, but basically you're able to see it in black and white. It makes you put some great decisions together as well. Folks, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is his website. On the website, you'll get a good idea of how the company started there and how they're able to help you as well. Keeping control of basically your cash flow is one of the bigger problems that a lot of companies have out there today, especially with the economy. Let me ask you this. You said earlier that you partner up with a lot of brokers nationwide. Brokers that want to get involved with you, can they do that as well?
Absolutely. All they have to do is go to my website, and there's a page specifically for brokers. They fill out the broker agreement, send it to me, and we're off and running. Now, I do try and spend some time with the broker up front to understand their background, the types of companies that they're looking at to see if it's going to be a fit.
Is there an industry that is possibly too small, or basically a client that's too small? What is the smallest amount you ever been able to forward or advance?
Yeah, it's not so much too small. It's if they're growing. So I can have a client that only does $10,000 a month in volume with me. That's perfectly fine. Once they get up into doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, they're probably at the point where they can move up the chain as far as who's providing financing for them, and I'll help them do that.
Once again, you've really streamlined the process, which makes it great for small business owners because, quite honestly, we're overwhelmed with just running our business as it is. They're able to go right online and apply there. Is that correct?
That's correct. The application is online. It doesn't take long to fill out. I do ask for some additional information, financial statements, tax returns, those kinds of things. And as long as they provide all the information to me, I'm able to process that, review that, and get back to them within a day with a quote.
As I spoke of earlier, Dennis, not only is the process of getting financing overwhelming for us, but really business owners, we're so concentrated on what we do. A photographer will hone his talent as well as a chiropractor can adjust, but when it comes to running our business, it's nice to have somebody in our corner. Is that what you provide as well?
Absolutely. Gary, as you mentioned, small business owners are good at what they do, whatever that may be. They're not necessarily good at running their business, and they often need some help. And I try and step in and provide them more than just the financing. I try to be a partner to them to actually help them manage their business better, grow more profitably, and then eventually move up the spectrum on financing.
I imagine with over 20 years basically in this industry, it's great to kind of get an outside look, from somebody else.
That's right. It's always good to have someone who has a skill set that you might not have help you in those areas of your business, and that's what I try and do.
Once again, take a look at the bottom of the screen. There is the website. That is Juno Financial, like their namesake. Basically there to protect and provide financing for you, the small business owner, so you can attain your goals and needs. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.